Shalom, everybody. Shalom. Most High in Christ bless. See if everybody can hear me. Just trying to do a quick little check. Little mic check. Can y'all hear me? If you can hear me, put a thumbs up if you can hear. Type something in the message if you can hear me. I see it there. All praises. Thanks there, Sister Misty. Alright, all praises, all praises. Hold up real quick. Go ahead and start getting set up here. Okay here, okay there. Let me see here real quick. Get here. Okay, all praises everybody. Shalom, Most High in Christ bless. My name is Officer Nahum. This History in the AM. The topic is the covenant transitioning from Abraham to Isaac, okay? That's the topic is the covenant transitioning from Abraham to Isaac. It's still like kind of a continuation of our father Abraham, but now we're going to start going into Isaac here, okay? So what we're going to do, we're going to start off here in Genesis, the book of Genesis, chapter 22. We're gonna do 22, 23, 24, and 25. That's what we're gonna go into. Bear with me real quick. Still trying to get everything here situated, man. Trying to get everything good. All praises here. Okay. So this is Genesis chapter 22 and verse 1. It says, "And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here I am." Right. So now it's going into that they're going to show how the Lord, how he tempted Abraham. Okay. So with that, let's go to let's see here real quick. Let me see my notes. I had something written down earlier, but I scratched it out. All right, I'll read it again. This is Genesis chapter 22 and verse 1. "And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here I am. And he said, Take now thy son, thy only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of." Okay, so now he's giving Abraham some instruction here, okay? So he's letting him know we're gonna go into Moriah, right? I want you to go up to the land of Moriah. So let's find out what is Moriah here real quick in verse 2. So let's go to 2 Chronicles chapter 3 and verse 1 real quick. 2 Chronicles chapter 3 and verse 1. It says, "Then Solomon began to build the house of the Lord at Jerusalem and Mount Moriah," okay, "where the Lord appeared unto David his father, in the place that David had prepared, and the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite." Okay, so just let y'all know that place Moriah, that's Jerusalem. Okay, that's what Jerusalem was called during that time of during the time of Abraham. Okay, so what we're reading there. So we'll go back here and read that in verse 2 again. Genesis chapter 22 and verse 2. "And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah," right, which is in Jerusalem. Okay, "and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. And Abraham rose up early in the morning and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went unto the place of which God had told him." So now he's headed that way. He's leaving. He's doing what he's told to do. You can see there too. Abraham. If it had been me, you, or whomever would have heard the Lord tell us that, we'd be like, I got to kill my only son. I got to kill my only child. We'd be kind of, looking crazy. The face be all twisted up or questioning God, you know what I'm saying? But Abraham, he didn't do that. He followed through. He followed through the order that was given unto him. Okay, he wasn't disobedient. So verse 4. Then on the third day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. Right. So to let you know, like I guess it was like a 3-day journey. You know what I'm saying, from where he was at. Cause you remember, if we go back to Genesis chapter 22 and we'll start at verse 33. Just jump back. And Abraham planted a grove in Beersheba and called there on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. And verse 34 says, and Abraham sojourned in the Philistines' land many days. Right. So we know he was in that land. He was standing at Beersheba at the time or whatever, you know. So I'm gonna flip through some maps here real quick. You know, I'll take it back. I know I had some maps last time that was posted, so give everybody can see. You know, we can see what was going on. Let me see here real quick. Not that one. So we'll go to this map right here. A transition. Bear with me. All right. I hope y'all can see the map and everything. So you'll see. If you'll see on the arrows, right, which is like the little map legend, it says God tests Abraham and Moriah near Jerusalem, right? So, you know, that's basically what we touching on there, right? So it's showing where Abraham was at. He was in Beersheba. Now he's getting ready to go toward Jerusalem. So Jerusalem is where, you just look on the map there, you'll see where Beersheba, and you see the arrow from Beersheba going up to Jerusalem. And that where Jerusalem is, that's where Mount Moriah is, okay? So that's where he was headed to when he was going that way, but he was, you know, staying down in that area, as just like what we read in Genesis chapter 22 and verse 33, okay? You know, that's where he was dwelling at, and you know what I'm saying, in tents. So now, you know, you see our forefather, he moved around, he journeyed, he went to a lot of different places within the land of Canaan, okay? Let me jump back here because I just want to give y'all a visual to see what he was doing, how, you know, where he was walking at. So from that distance to there, you know, as we see, it said the journey, it says, let me jump back to where he's at here. And verse 4, it said, then on the third day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. So, you know, it was good little ways for him to, you know, to travel to go to that place. Okay, so let me transition it back. All righty, just give y'all a little scoop of what's going on. You know what I'm saying? All right, it says, then on the third day, this is Genesis chapter 22 and verse 4. Then on the third day, Abraham had lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship and come again to you. So let you know his servants that he had, the other two men, he had them stay back. You know what I'm saying? He said, hey, you know what I'm saying, because they didn't, of course he had to teach them, you know, the laws and stuff like that. But of course, this thing here was, you know, was something serious. You know, he in his mind he's set to go sacrifice Isaac. You know what I'm saying? That's what he, you know, was on his mission, on his plan to do. Okay. Let's see here right fast. Bear with me real quick. I'm gonna check back on my notes here. All right, so I haven't got there yet. Okay. Yeah. All right. So verse 6, and this Genesis 22 and 6. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son. So he took he got the wood. He said, "Hey, look." He told Isaac, "You carry the wood." And he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. So you know, you can just imagine. You know, he's holding Abraham's holding like a stick with fire or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So they can kind of see through on their journey. And that way they got fire with them. So he ain't got to sit there and try to make fire, you know, it take a while to try to make some fire, you know. So he's got the fire stick with him, and which is, you know, taking him on the way. And he had Isaac, he carrying the wood. Okay, so let's see what Isaac said here, verse 7. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I, son, my son. He says, and he said, Behold the fire and the wood. He said, Dad, we got fire and we got wood here. You know what I'm saying? I see that we got two things. He said, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? You know, he's asking, where's the lamb at, Dad? You know what I'm saying? We missing something. So, it is showing you, hey, when he went up there, many times, Abraham did sacrifices and offerings and stuff. He showed Isaac, you know what I'm saying? He did it with Isaac, you know what I'm saying? Showed Isaac, hey, this is how you do this. He was training up, pretty much doing Proverbs 22 and 6. You train up a young child in the way he should go. As he get older, he never depart from it. So I might have butchered up a little bit, but you guys get the point, So he taught him, he showed him, this is what you do when you go make an offering for the Lord. So he's asking, he's young, but he knows, you know what I'm saying? All right, verse 8. And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went, both of them together, right? So he told him that. Verse 9, and they came to the place which God had told him of, and Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. Okay? It says, and Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slay his son. So now he's getting ready to, kill Isaac, you know what I'm saying, to go ahead and make the sacrifice, do as thus said what the Lord had told him. In verse 11, and the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Lay not thy hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. He said, Don't do nothing to him, don't kill him, And he said, For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thy only son, from me. So now he's looking. He's like, hey, you know what? This is what what he was trying to see what Abraham, what would he do? Let me see what what's going to what his intentions. You know what I'm saying? Is he going to do it? Is he going to follow through with this, or is he not? So the Lord was testing him to see where his faith was at. Okay, to see how strong his faith was. All right. Let's see. Go to the next verse, verse 13. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. Right. So now you see that they go that the Most High made it that, hey, here's gonna be your sacrifice right here. Right. He said, Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. Right. Verse 14. And Abraham called the name of that place Jehovah Jireh, right? So that, just to let y'all know, I got a little note on the side of my Bible. So that place Jehovah Jireh, you know what I'm saying? It means that is the Lord will see, the Lord will see or provide. Just like what it said in verse 8. You remember when Isaac asked his father, he said, Dad, I see we got the fire, we got the wood, but we're missing the lamb. And he said the Lord will provide his own, and which that's what happened right here, what come to pass here. So that's why he named the place. Okay, so jump back to verse 14 again. And Abraham called the name of the place Jehovah Jireh, which is, the Lord will provide his own, right? It says, as it is said to this day, in the mount of the Lord it shall be seen. Okay. Verse 15, and the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time, and said, by myself have I sworn, said the Lord, for because thou hast done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thy only son. You know what I'm saying? So he let you know what? So you didn't kill your, you was willing to kill your only son for my sake, you know what I'm saying? So I know you was willing to sacrifice him, to go through. So I know you believe, you trust in me, and your faith is there, okay? So with that right there, let's go to, we're going to jump to, let's go to Genesis chapter 26. We're going to jump up Genesis 26 and 5 real quick. Let's go there real quick. Go to get a little precept. So this Genesis chapter 26 and verse 5, right? It says, because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. Okay? So that's what let you know the Lord, you know what I'm saying, he knew, said Abraham always obeyed, he always kept the commandments, everything he put out, Abraham did, you know what I'm saying, he didn't waste no time, he made haste, you know, and if he did ask questions, he had questions that he may have asked, you know what I'm saying, but there was nothing into, to tip the Lord or make the Lord mad or anything like that, he had genuine questions, when you read the chapters before, but yeah, just, hey, what I'm saying, let you know, hey, this is what the Lord, what I'm saying, what he think, what I'm saying, what he knows. I'm not going to say what he think. He already know, hey, everything's written. So let's go to, got another precept here. We'll go to Sirach. Let me see here real quick what I got down here. Yeah, let's go to Sirach chapter 40, verse 19 real quick. We're going to go there, Sirach. Chapter, just get some more meat here real quick. Let's get that right fast. Y'all bear with me. I know I missed my 7 seconds. We got Camp 101 later. But anyways, yeah. Alright, yeah, this is the book of Sirach, chapter 40 and verse 19. Let me see, is it 40 or 44 and 19? Bear with me real quick, y'all. I might have wrote my notes wrong. Let's see. Yeah, I believe it's 44 and 19. Let me see. Bear with me real quick. I know I had it in my notes. Bear with me, y'all. Hold up for a minute. What is this? All right. We'll skip it. We'll get to it. It'll come back to me. Bear with me. I put the wrong precept. Bear with me, y'all. So we'll go back to where we left off at. This is Genesis 22 and 16 again. And he said, by myself have I sworn, said the Lord, for because thou hast done this thing, and has not withheld thy son, thy only son. Verse 17, that in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, right? So he's letting them know, he's going to bless Abraham. He's going to do with those things that he promised Abraham, right? He says, I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies, right? So he's letting them know a future, tense, what I'm saying, future prophecy, what's going to take place, how Abraham is going to be a father of many nations, what I'm saying, but he's going to be he's going to be the main father of the chosen seed, what I'm saying, from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob's name will change to Israel, and his 12 sons, as we read in the Bible. Israel we're gonna get the kingdom, what I'm saying, and take over and have it, when you read in Daniel, what I'm saying, we're gonna possess the kingdom, what I'm saying, forever and ever, right, with Christ reigning. All right, let's see here real quick, where I left off at, verse 18. And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. That's going into, when it's talking about, again, I read this before in the other chapters before, on the last week when I did history in the AM, that's going into like how we scattered abroad, what I'm saying, like you read Deuteronomy. We just go there too. Deuteronomy 28 and 64. Let's get there real quick. So the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 64. It says, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone, right? So what is that going into? That's going into, there's a lot of scattered scriptures, that, we can go to, James 1 and 1, it just showing Israel will be scattered, and wherever we scattered at, we're going to be called outside of our God-given name, you know what I'm saying? And you be called by another nation, you know what I'm saying? Like us here in America, the so-called African Americans, you given a nationality, you're not called by your God-given name. The Puerto Ricans, they got a country called Puerto Rico, but it's a U.S. territory, and they're called Puerto Ricans, right? You got Cubans, you got, I'm just showing you all these different type of Israelites, but they called outside of their God-given name, and they're called a different nation. So I hope you guys get the point. Same thing, Native Americans, but those are Israelites. You know what I'm saying? The tribe of Gad for the Native Americans. Puerto Ricans is Ephraim in the Bible. Manasseh is the Cubans today. Our brothers in the Caribbeans. You know what I'm saying? That's Benjamin. Levi's Haiti. So we called all those different names wherever we scattered abroad, just like when you read James 1 and 1, he said to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, or when they had to go teach the Corinthians, the Galatians, all of them, they were being called outside of the God-given name. They had Greek names, Roman names, from when it was conquered, okay? So that's what that means. All nations, what I'm saying, when it's going into all nations, it's talking about that, okay? Not everybody on the earth, okay? No. You know what I'm saying? The Bible don't say that. Okay? That's for you John 3:16 junkies, okay? All right, because y'all don't, those people don't understand. Get back here and read that again, where we just left off at. Let me see real quick. Yeah, back to Genesis chapter, chapter 22 and verse 18. It says, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. Verse 19, so Abraham returned unto his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. So of course he went back to like what we read in the last chapter, chapter 21 and verse 33. So that's where they was at. 32 and 33. So that's where they stayed at. And of course, he went back to the same place where they was dwelling at. To go back home to his wife and his people, right? Let me see here. So now we'll jump back here to we'll go to verse 20, right? So this is Genesis chapter 22 and verse 20. It says, and it came to pass after these things that it was told Abraham, saying, behold, Milcah Milcah, she had also borne children unto brother Nahor, right? So now we got to find out who is Milcah, right? Who is that? You know what I'm saying? So let's go back to Genesis chapter 11, right? Genesis chapter 11 and verse 26, right? Let me see. Yeah. 26. It says, and Terah lived, this is Genesis chapter 11 and 26. And Terah lived 70 years and begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran, right? So now it's let you know who, this is Abraham's father right here. So, and those are Abraham's brother. He got a brother named Nahor and a brother named Haran. In verse 27, now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begot Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran begot Lot. So that's Lot's father was Haran. Okay, just touching you back to basics. Verse 28, and Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his nativity in Ur of the Chaldees. So to let you know, this is where Abraham and them had came from. Let me pull up another map real quick. Let's see here real quick. Just bear with me, y'all. I'm just trying to get y'all up to speed. Okay, so I'm gonna give you the maps then. All right, so as we look here, let me transition real quick. All right, for those who can't, who need to see. All right, so if you look over here on the map, you see that area that's kind of covered in kind of purple a little bit, and you'll see where it says Mesopotamia, right? So Mesopotamia is that area where you would call like modern day Iraq, Iran, Syria, and all that, but mainly this portion right here, all this is Iraq, okay? So you'll see down at the bottom, you'll see where it says, you see Sumer, and below Sumer, you'll see right there. That's of the Chaldee. That's in Iraq. It's right next to where you see Euphrates River, where the part where it says river. So you see that So that's where Abraham and them originally came from, okay? For those who don't know. So, this is like the area of the Babylonians and the Chaldeans, okay, where they dwelt at. So that's where Abraham had came from, okay? Just want to give y'all so you can kind of get a visual, where he had started at. And I have another, let me see, so bear with me, y'all. Let me transition back. Got another map right there. So that's then, as you saw the map then, so I got it also how it looks today, how it would look today, you know what I'm saying? How you see with the different countries. So you see there's Iraq, you see Kuwait at the bottom of Iraq, you see Syria, you see there's Iran to the right of Iraq, you see all the different countries and stuff today. So as you guys look, as you can see, you see, that's where the Chaldees was, it's still in to this day in Iraq today. When you see the country Iraq, okay, which is Mesopotamia, and that city is still there. You know what I'm saying? When I used to be in Esau military, we drove up through that place. You know what I'm saying? We had there was military bases there, or FOBs, or what we call forward operating bases. So in all these areas, and you'll see signs and stuff like that. Before I didn't, we was there. We seen some signs that say stuff about the Bible, and at the time, I wasn't in the truth, so I didn't really know what. I mean, I heard him. You hear him say stuff that this is where the Garden of Eden was, or this is where the Tower of Babylon. You seen stuff, but I didn't understand it because I didn't know the Bible like I know it today. But now everything makes sense. But yeah, I just want to give y'all that visual so you can see the map. So you can see where Abraham, where he came from, the Chaldee. I'm gonna read that verse again. So this is Genesis chapter 11 and verse 28. And Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his nativity in of the Chaldees. Okay, so to let you know that's where they was dwelling at. And that's what they were called too. You reading the book of Judith. You see where if we go to Judith chapter 5, actually I might have to go there. Let me transition it back real quick. Oh man, like it done froze up on me. Alright, okay. Alright, so I'm gonna get that for y'all too. Let's go to we're gonna go to the book of Judith real quick. I didn't have it in my notes. Just to kind of, get further proof, more of that landmass real quick. Bear with me, y'all. Let's get it. Judith chapter 5, and cause this is when there was an Ammonite. He was trying to tell Holofernes, you know what I'm saying, who was he was somebody that was trying to come against us at this particular time. So we'll start at let's see here. I think 5 and verse 5. We'll start at 5 and verse 5. So this is the book of Judith, chapter 5, verse 5. Then said Achior, the captain of all the sons of Ammon, so this is the guy that's speaking, let my Lord now bear a word from the mouth of thy servant, and I will declare unto thee the truth concerning this people. He's talking about Israel, okay? He said, which dwelleth near thee, and inhabited the hill countries, and there shall no lie come out of the mouth of thy servant. Verse 6 says, "These people are descendants of the Chaldeans." So all the other nations in them knew, they still know our history, okay? They know it. They know this. We just don't know this, but we can read it in the Bible. So now, us that are woke, we know, right? It says, verse 7, "And they sojourned heretofore in Mesopotamia," which is, Iraq, and Chaldeans, Iraq. It said, "because they would not follow the gods of their fathers." Okay, so they knew this. We weren't going to, we wasn't down there doing what the rest of the Chaldeans, right? So, "which were in the land of the Chaldea, for they left the way of their ancestors and worshipped the God of heaven." Hear that? It says, "the God whom they knew, so they cast them out from the face of their gods, and they fled into Mesopotamia and sojourned there many days." Right? So this is where we was at. So then their God commanded them to depart from the place where they sojourned. Okay? It says, "and to go into the land of Canaan, where they dwelt and were increased with gold and silver." We read about that in reading the book, reading Genesis 12. We read chapter 12 how when Abraham when he left Egypt, the Pharaoh took his wife, the Most High jacked him up and gave him a dream, a vision, Then he intrigued Abraham with a lot of gold and silver and all, men servants, cattle and all that stuff, Told him to leave, I remember reading verse 9 again. So it's Judith 5:9. "Then their God commanded them to depart from the place where they sojourn." So that's what we're going to touch on. We'll read back on that in Genesis chapter 11. And it says, "where they dwelt and were increased with gold and silver and with very much cattle." Right? So I'm going to read on. Verse 10. "But when a famine covered all the land of Canaan, they went down into Egypt and sojourned there while they were nourished and became there a great multitude, so that one could not number their nation." Right? So that's going into that portion there. He jumped up in history. That's going into when Joseph went into when he was the first one to go into Egypt. And he went in there and his brother sold him into slavery, and from that point, we end up, multiplying, as we read in Exodus chapter 1, we end up, multiplying there and grew big. So he's going into that history, for those, you got the time, hey, read, check that out, read that history right there, okay? So let me get back to where we left off at. Genesis chapter 11 and I'll read verse 28 again. "And Haran, which is this Abraham's brother and Lot's father, died before his father Terah in the land of his nativity in Ur of the Chaldees." And verse 29, "and Abraham and Nahor took them wives. The name of Abram's was Sarai," right, which is our foremother Sarah. "And the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah." So Nahor, Abraham's brother, that's who we're reading about right now, Milcah, right? The daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Iscah, right? So just let you know who she was, right? So let me jump here. Let me see if I was gonna read more. Actually, I'll read on down just to prove, because what we read in Judith, right? Verse 30. "But Sarai was barren; she had no child." She couldn't have kids. Verse 31. "And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his son's son," which is talking about his grandson, "and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees." So they left Iraq or Mesopotamia to go into the land of Canaan, and they came unto Haran and dwelt there, right? And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran, right? So just as we see here, bring it back to the. I'm gonna transition this back real quick. All right, so y'all, if you can see there in the red lines, you'll see the land Syria, and above Syria, you see where it says the Hurrians, you see the little town Haran, the city, which is like in Turkey, okay, today. So, but that, before it was Turkey, before it was broken up into those, what we see today, the landmass today, it was actually all that was the land of Canaan. Okay, just for those who don't know, today they call it the Middle East, right? There ain't no Middle East because there's no Middle North, no Middle South, or no Middle West. So, really, how can I say, like all this stuff is really called Northeast Africa. That's what it was considered. The land of Canaan was called that. Okay, so I'm gonna take it back to the map without the borders. Okay, so let me go to then transition this. All right, so you can see that right there. I just took it back without it's the same map. Just to let y'all know, I got like a page, like a plastic page off this book. You know what I'm saying, that I have. For those who don't have it, let me see. I'll just let you know you can buy this book at I think I bought it at Walmart. It's called Then and Now. It's a deluxe Then and Now Bible maps. I'll show it to y'all real quick in a minute. Just bear with me. But but as you're looking in there, you'll see where it says Haran or Haran. That's where they went to. They left Ur of the Chaldees and went to Haran, and that's where they was dwelling at. You know what I'm saying? And then Abraham left from Haran and went on down to went further down into the land of Canaan. Okay, all right, and he went further south, and of course he went into Egypt. They left Egypt, and you know what I'm saying, and like you said, you'll see where he dwelt at and stuff. So I don't know why in there it don't show that other map. I'm gonna have to bring the other map up. Bear with me real quick, y'all. I'm gonna transition again. Just want to get y'all a visual, man, so y'all can see. I know some people they see different things and don't, what I'm saying, really don't understand. So actually, I'm gonna transition this real quick. All right, so you'll see that. So this got the arrows in the map. So you'll see down in the bottom, you see that first arrow where it goes from Ur all the way up to Haran. Then from Haran, they show you this is where he journeyed from. It goes down in the red from when Abraham left Haran and went down to Shechem. Then it goes into the yellow Shechem to Egypt. Then he left Egypt, got kicked out of Egypt, went to Bethel, and you know what I'm saying. And he stayed in that section, in that area, right? Just to further proof. Let's see here real quick. Get further proof of this. I forgot I put my maps in order, but all right. So now, like I said, he kind of stayed in that area to circle around. What you would see modern day, you know what I'm saying, in the Bible. You see where it's Jerusalem, Bethel, Shechem. You see all that place, Hebron, Gerar, and Beersheba, right? So he's dwelling right now in that vicinity, in that area. As you see those arrows going around in a circle, okay? All right, so let me go back just to show y'all. I'll show y'all the books I got here and stuff, what I'm using. Transition back. All right, let me do this real quick. So those you see, you can, let me see, I got a thing out of order. So this is the book. This is the book here that I was speaking about with those maps in it and stuff. Hey, it's a good book to have, man. It's good. It's got some good stuff in there, some good history. I'm gonna show you another one too that I have. This is another one. This is like part of that same thing, that same book thing. So it's called Rose Books of Bible Charts, Maps, and Timelines. I'm gonna show y'all some more stuff on it too. Of course, it got, most books that you get, what I'm saying, they're gonna have Edomites and stuff like that in there. But you can bypass the Edomites. You making color. Hey, if y'all good at coloring, you can scratch that white out and color it up. You know what I'm saying? Put black or brown. You know, just throwing that out there as a little joke, but I'm being serious. You know, you can do that. So let's see here real quick, y'all. Bear with me. Let's see what time frame to 5:42. All right. Let me see where we left off at here. All right, back. So we're gonna go back here to Genesis chapter 22. So y'all, so I hope I ain't lose everybody. Actually, yeah. Let me go back at Genesis chapter 22 and verse 20. It said, "And it came to pass after these things that it was told Abraham, saying, Behold, Milcah, she had also borne children unto thy brother Nahor." So you know, as I was reading, just get y'all caught up with who Milcah was and who Nahor was. I just want to take y'all back into, you know, into why I first started off when I was doing our father Abraham. That we touched on this before, and now, you know what I'm saying, those two individuals come up again. I know some people may not be familiar who they are, who they were, and that's Abraham's people. Okay, that's his brother and his brother's wife. Okay, that they stay in the land of Haran right now. Okay, up in today it'd be modern day Turkey, but you know what I'm saying, but it was in the land of Canaan. You know what I'm saying, still the land of Canaan according to the Most High, where the borders, you know, east, you know, where all the wars and all that stuff with all these different nations. So now it's in Turkey right now. Okay, all right. Okay, back here. Okay, so and it came to pass. This back again, Genesis 22 and 20. And it came to pass after these things that it was told. So after, you know, they went up there to do the sacrifice, and the angel spoke to him. You know what I'm saying? Don't sacrifice Isaac, but go ahead and sacrifice the ram that I got caught in the bushes for you. Saying, Behold, Milcah, she had also borne children unto thy brother Nahor. Verse 21. Whose is his firstborn, and Buz his brother, and Kemuel the father of Aram. Okay, so let you know there, you know, there was more family members, you know, had, you know what I'm saying, up there, and you know where they had came from, and Kesed and Hazel and Pildash and Jidlaph and Bethuel, and Bethuel begot Rebekah. Right, so now we're going, you know, we'll be touching on that here in the next chapter. So to let you know who Bethuel is, right? You know what I'm saying, and have begot Rebekah. So I want to say that's Rebekah's dad. All right, I'll double check again, but I'm pretty sure that's her father. It said these 8 Milcah did bear to Nahor, Abraham's brother. Okay, so this is his family. In verse 24, and his concubines whose name was Reumah, she bare also Tabah and Gaham and Thahash and Maacah. All right, so just let you know who, you know, there's more people, you know, more child, you know, more of Abraham's descendants. Okay, you know, going into his brothers and them, you know what I'm saying, they side of the family. All right. So now, you know, we're going to jump here to, let's jump to, go to Genesis chapter 23, y'all. Genesis chapter 23. Let's see here real quick. Just want to make sure I touched on everything. Okay. All right, I think I see what happened. When I told y'all that we was going to Sirach, I see where I got mixed up at. But, all right, so Genesis chapter 23 and verse 1. It says, and Sarah was 107 and 20 years. So this, our foremother Sarah, she was 127 years old. These were the years of the life of Sarah, right? So let you know, it says, and Sarah died in Kirjath Abar. The name is Hebron in the land of Canaan. So you remember how they was going back and forth to Hebron? So let me just transition it back. So, all right. So you see the picture, you see Hebron there. You know, remember they was in Beersheba. So now they going to Hebron, okay? And like I said, you'll see these different names. So this is probably like another little town or village, I would say, that's in Hebron, okay? Which got that name, Kirjathabar, right? And said the same as Hebron in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. Okay, so we go back. Just wanted to show you, go back to the map to show you where they at right now. Okay, so let you know she's 127 years old. Remember, Abraham he's 10 years older than Sarah. Okay, so he's 137 at this time. Remember, Abraham is 100 years older than Isaac. Okay, so Isaac is 37 years old at this time. Okay, for those who don't know. All right, verse 3. And Abraham stood up from before his dead and spake unto the sons of Heth, saying, so now he's going to, he's going there to go speak to the people of the land. Okay, he says, verse 4, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me a possession of a burying place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. And the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying unto him, Hear us, my Lord, thou art a mighty prince among us. So let you know, remember, Abraham was wealthy, you know what I'm saying? He was, of course, he was not native to those people, that was there in the land, the Canaanites and stuff. So you had all those other different Hamitic tribes that was there in the land of Canaan. So he dwelt there amongst them. So Abraham did a lot of trading, buying, selling, stuff with the people there. He had to deal with them. Just like, hey, let's say you had got moved to a different country or something, or you moved to a different neighborhood. Hey, you got to deal with everybody around you, so you got to have peace. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to buy, sell, and have, have some kind of relationship with them, a friendship with these people. Okay, why? Because you dwell there. You can't be, you can't show yourself all unfriendly, you know what I'm saying? Or people going to treat you evil, you know what I'm saying? Because you being evil towards them. All right, so go back here. It says, verse 6, it says, Hear us, my Lord, thou art a mighty prince among us. In the choice of our sepulchres, bury thy dead. He said, none of us shall withhold from thee his sepulture, but that thou mayest bury thy dead. So they tell him, hey, you can bury, Abraham, you can bury your dead amongst with our people that died. You can use our graves and stuff, our graveyards or whatever, So verse 7, and Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land, even to the children of Heth. He's speaking to them with respect. He says, and he communed with them, saying, if it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, he says, hear me and entreat from me to Ephron, the son of Zohar. He said, could you get this particular person? You know what I'm saying? He wants to speak to a particular person out of the people of the land, right? He called them by the name. So, Abraham knew all these people, he dealt with them. Verse 9, that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he had, which is in the end of his field, right? So for as much money as it is worth, he shall give it me for a possession of a burying place amongst you, right? So, of course he's there in the land. He's trying to, get him a burial plot, so that way, because this is what our forefathers and them did, you know what I'm saying? Where we was at, we had burials. We had places where we built pyramids in Israel, as you read in the Maccabees, you know what I'm saying? They had, I want to say there was a Simon. He had some pyramids built for his parents, his family, you know what I'm saying, when they died, also, we got, here in America, there's a lot of mounds, Indian mounds, right? So you got pyramids and stuff like that in Mexico, South Central America, the Caribbean, there's all type of stuff, what they call Indian burial grounds, all that stuff, places where we bury the dead, and just letting you know, for those who don't know, we always bury our dead. We didn't cremate our dead. That's not our custom. We don't cremate the dead, okay? We always took our loved ones, and when they passed away, we buried them, okay? So you don't read nothing about us cremating the whole body, you know what I'm saying? There's one part where you would read about where where they had to burn the flesh off the bones of Saul and his sons. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because their body was what you call it, was mutilated and defiled from the when they fought against the Philistines. Okay, so when they had to go retrieve their body, they took it and hung it up in there amongst where their gods, where their fake idols and stuff were at. So that David and them had to go get their bodies and stuff, and they just burned the flesh off and they buried the bones. Just let y'all know that, okay? So they cremate. When you cremate somebody, you burn them all the way to ashes, the bones and all. Okay, so that's not what we do. And you'll see people that do that. They keep that urn with the ashes there. And you don't realize, you know what I'm saying? You kind of, you just holding on to that, that person. This, if you got something like that, go ahead on and bury that thing. You know what I'm saying? Or, don't hold on to stuff like that. We don't do that. Other nations do that. We don't do that. Okay, just want to let y'all know. All right, let me get back here. I went off on a little rant a little bit, but let's see here real quick. All right, verse 8. Let's see here real quick where I left. Verse 8. And he communed with them, saying, "This is those who know Genesis chapter 23, verse 8. And he communed with them, saying, if it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me, and entreat for me to Ephron, the son of Zohar, that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he had, which is in the end of his field, for as much money as it is worth, he shall give it me for a possession of a burying place amongst you." So let you know, we had money, we had currency back then. A lot of people said we ain't had no money. We didn't do that. People just far and beyond, lost. There was money. Yeah, remember you had to buy, you had to trade, you had to sell. So there was currency. It was always currency there. We'll touch on that. Verse 10, and Ephron dwelt among the children of Heth, right? And Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the audience of the children of Heth, even of all that went in at the gate of his city, saying, so, there's a crowd of people there. This is like an area where I guess pretty much like a marketplace or something like that, where everybody dwelled and communed and spoke at. So, they talking matters, what I'm saying? This is where you would go do your trade and buying and stuff like that. So in this particular portion of the city, it says, verse 11, it says, "Nay, my Lord, hear me. The field," he said, "the field give I thee, and the cave that is therein, I give it thee. In the presence of the sons of my people, give I it thee, bury thy dead." He said, "I'm going to give this to you there, Abraham, so you can go ahead on and bury your dead," okay? Verse 12, "And Abraham bowed down himself before the people of the land, and he spake unto Ephron in the audience of the people of the land, saying, But if thou wilt give it, I pray thee, hear me." He said, "Is you willing to give it to me?" He said, "Cool, I want you to listen up to me real quick." He said, "I will give thee money for the field." He said, "Take it of me, and I will bury my dead there." So Abraham's letting them know, hey, I'm going to pay for this. I'm going to buy it. There's a reason why you got to purchase stuff and make things right. You don't want nobody just to give you anything, I mean, some things, some things can be donated and stuff like that. But when it's dealing with land and stuff like that, you can't play around with that thing. Everything's got to be done with in order. You know what I'm saying? There's because that person can renege, or what I'm saying. That's what we call I said renege like like you're playing spades, but people you know how people are. People will say, "Nah, you didn't do this thing," or somebody may die and they forget. Now there's nothing in writing, nothing in saying. Guess what? Now you got to give this thing back to this person. You don't spend all your, you done put stuff, built it up. Now this person that took it from you because you didn't do it right. All right, so I'm going to read that again in verse 13. "And he spake unto Ephron in the audience of the people of the land, saying, But if thou wilt give it, I pray thee, hear me. I will give thee money for the field. Take it of me, and I will bury my dead there. And Ephron answered Abraham, saying unto him, My Lord, hearken unto me. He said, listen to me, Abraham. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. He said, What is that between me and thee? Bury therefore thy dead. So he's letting them know, say, hey, this is how much it's worth, right? So we're going to touch on that. So, and Abraham hearkened unto Ephron, and Abraham weighed Ephron the silver, which he had named in the audience of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, current money with a merchant. Okay, so you had the merchant there, they had the scale there to weigh the money. You know there was transactions being taken place here. So let's get this. We're gonna go to here's the precept for this right here. We're gonna go to Sirach chapter 42 and verse 7. Okay, the Sirach 42 and verse 7. He says, deliver all things in number and weight. Hear that? You have to deliver all things in number and weight, and put all in writing that thou givest out or receivest in. Okay? So that's what I was going into. That's why they had a merchant there, and they did it in the sight of all the people there as a witness. You gotta have witnesses there. So somebody can vouch for you. Hey, this did happen. Yeah, we did agree to this. Yeah, he's seen it. Your people saw it. So every day there's no misunderstanding. And then they had a merchant there. The merchant, there was paperwork. There was paper, a receipt. What we would call it, or when you're dealing with land, it goes into a deed. You deal with a car, it's a title involved. Okay, you get married, there's a marriage certificate. All this stuff got to be established. You know what I'm saying? If not, if you can't, that's your proof saying that it belongs to you because it got your name and what is your belonging, what you purchase it for. All that stuff is in there. That's your proof that it's yours. So if you go in a courtroom and you get called up in court, they say, okay, where's the proof that this car belongs to you? They're actually with a title because it got a stamp seal to it. Okay. So with that, remember you got to put all things in weight and all things in writing. So I got another little picture here to show y'all. Bear with me real quick. Let's scroll down. Okay. So remember how we was talking about money in the Bible, right? So I'm gonna transition this. So they got money in the Bible, right? So this is out of that other book, that black book I showed y'all earlier. It says it give you the money in the Bible, monetary values. So like in the Old Testament, you got shekels, and give you a little price value of what it was kind of worth. You see where it says mina, that's 50 shekels, was worth about that. Then you got talents. I'm just showing y'all all these different things here. And then you got the New Testament. It'll show you the same type of things, you know what I'm saying? 'Cause there was always currency. There was always money involved in a lot of things when you purchase and stuff. So that's like how the money thing there. Look, I'm gonna pull another thing up and transition back. Remember how they had to, everything had to be weighed, tables of weight and measures, okay? So it let you know, when they, it give you like American, British, how we weigh stuff here in America, okay? And they got metrics and all that. But it's let you know how this is, just showing y'all how things go, and how things is was handled back in those times, or how it's handled today, or whatever. You just give you the understanding thereof of it. It's hard for me to explain it because we do it different. We go by, we got cash and all that stuff. Now you got Bitcoin, Cash App, and all these different stuff that you can do, transactions with. So, but for those who may understand, hey, this is, you can sit down and look at this thing and, you get that book or whatever, look over the class and you get more understanding. So I'll transition it back. Okay, here, bear with me. All right. So I'll go back up here let's see. So we get the exact amount it was again, right? So this is Genesis 23:15. It says, my Lord, hearken unto me. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. So he's letting them know that's how much it was worth. 400 shekels of silver. So, you know, you just do the math on that. You know, off of what you just saw here with the money and stuff. Let me transition back real quick. So, you know, he had 400 shekels, right? Let me see. So it let you know he was 400, so it was going into pounds. So that mean, I guess 50 shekels. You know, I guess you do the math, you divide that thing up or whatever. You know, or some, you know, not divide it, but you know, you divide your 50 into 400. My math ain't that good right now, so, but you guys kind of get it, you know, if you understand where I'm coming from. That's the tables and weight, and I'm gonna transition this real quick. All right, I'm gonna go to the money in the Bible, so you know that way you get a kind of, you know, so you can look at it to see how much it may have been worth. You do your math or whatever, and you get a little time to look at it. Go back. All right, so that's how much that stuff was worth at that time. Okay. All right, so verse 15 again. My Lord, hearken unto me. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that betwixt me and thee? He said, bury therefore thy dead. Verse 16, and Abraham hearkened unto Ephron, and Abraham weighed to Ephron the silver which he had named in the audience of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, current money with the merchant. Okay, so just like I said, all things got to be done in weight and measured and stuff like that. And all things got to be done in writing, you know, for exchange. All right, verse 17, and you got to have witnesses there. Okay, that's why I forgot to mention. That's why today, when you do sign a deed, you know what I'm saying. You know, it's you, the lawyer, you know what I'm saying, and there's other people there too. You know what I'm saying. From what I could last remember when I got my house or whatever. Then also when you go do a title, you gotta have it's you signing, and then you got that person that who you sign it over to, and then you got somebody. What do you call it? Yeah, my wife does it. You know what I'm talking about. You get somebody to stamp it or whatever. I got a brain. It's still early in the morning. I got a brain fart, y'all. Sorry about that. I know somebody was asking if they can get my wife to do that here recently. I forgot what it's called. I had it in my mind. But anyways, it's something that show that you could use in court, and they were like, hey, you got that thing, you got witnesses and all that stuff. You know, y'all both signed it, and that person stamp it. You know, you do that to DMV. You know, all that. All right. So verse 17, Genesis 23:17. In the field of Ephron, which was at Machpelah, which was before Mamre, the field, and the cave which was therein, and all the trees that were in the field, that were in all the borders round about, were made sure. Okay, so it said, verse 18, unto Abraham for a possession in the presence of the children of Heth before all that went, and at the gate of his city. And after this, Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah before Mamre, the same as Hebron in the land of Canaan. Okay, and the field and the cave that is therein were made sure unto Abraham for a possession of a burying place by the sons of Heth. Okay, so they knew. Okay, that was the you know what I'm saying, that's Abraham's right there. He purchased that, and he made sure he did that thing, you know, with he had witnesses there, you know. Just remember, let me see, yeah. So just remember, I'm gonna transition the map. So she's buried here in Hebron, okay. So you'll see what it says Hebron, and within that red arrow area, okay. So that's where she's buried at. I know it called it a different name. So it's like another little village or town or something like that within that bigger city, Hebron. Okay, just for those who don't know. So all right, so we're going to Genesis chapter 24, real quick. Genesis 24, and just want to make sure I didn't forget nothing. All right, yeah, Genesis 24 and 1. All right, it said, and Abraham was old and well stricken in age, right? It says, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said unto his eldest servant of his house, that ruled over all that he had, he said, put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh. He said, put your hand under my thigh. He said, and I will make thee swear by the Lord, the God of heaven, and the God of the earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell. Okay, hear that? So he's letting them know. He said, "Hey, I need you to make a swear, because Abraham's getting old. He's old. He's like, he's probably about 100, and at this time, probably about 140. I'm gonna say it like that. This probably like 3 years. I'm gonna say it like that. I'll wait till we get to the next chapter. But I'm assuming he's about 139, 140, somewhere around that time, somewhere around that age, okay? According to the next chapter we're going to read. And so he's making them swear, like, hey, I don't want my son marrying no Canaanite woman, or marrying outside of his race, right? So we'll read verse 4. But thou shalt go unto my country and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son Isaac. Okay, so he's letting them know this is what I want you to do. So remember how we read in in chapter 22, the last few chapters, how they was going into Nahor, I think it was Nahor and Milcah and them, his brother and sister-in-law and them. How they was up in Haran. Okay, so let's go here real quick. Let's go to Tobit 4 and 12 real quick, y'all. That's the precept we're gonna go to. So to let you know, hey, what people are gonna say, they're gonna say, well, Abraham was racist too. Nah, Abraham was for his people. So this is Tobit 4 and 12. It says, beware of all whoredom, my son, and chiefly take a wife of the seed of thy fathers. Okay? He said, and take not a strange woman to wife. Don't marry these other nations. All this stuff go back to what, if we read Deuteronomy 7:3, we go back to Genesis chapter 6. That's what happened. The sons of God, they saw the daughters of men. All that was interracial marriage, and it'll cause you to leave, to leave your your family, because you're gonna start, trying to please those people, and you're going to end up, all that stuff will rub off on you. Look what happened to our forefather. They speak about that in the book of Nehemiah, about Solomon. You know what I'm saying? How them strange women caused him to go off to earth. You know what I'm saying? He was the wisest man, you know what I'm saying, on the earth at that time. All right. Remember, go back and read that again. Tobit 4 and 12. Beware of all whoredom, my son, and chiefly take a wife of thy seed, the wife of the seed of thy fathers, and take not a strange woman to wife, which is not of thy father's tribe. For we are the children of the prophets, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember, my son, that our fathers from the beginning, even that they all married wives of their own kindred, and were blessed in their children, and their seed shall inherit the land. I know somebody probably like, well, Moses, he had a Ethiopian wife. Who else? They may say somebody else did. Hey, you know what I'm saying? We ain't them. Like, remember the scripture says, the Lord said, I will have mercy on whom I have mercy. I will have compassion on whom I have compassion. He allowed them to do that, you know what I'm saying, during that time. Even Joseph had an Egyptian wife. But you got to remember, Joseph was the only person in that land, you know what I'm saying, at that time. So he, the Most High had to set up for him to marry an Egyptian wife. Same thing with Moses. Moses was the only one where he was at, and he caused him to marry that, you know what I'm saying, when he left Egypt, and he didn't know he was was an Israelite. He was gone. He was there 40 years in Egypt. Then he left for 40 years. So eventually he had to marry somebody. So the Lord allowed that. Amongst them. With certain prophets, certain people, for that to happen. Okay. But you got to remember, the wives that they married didn't cause them to go to earth. It was the Most High knew what He was doing. All right. So just remember, the Lord have mercy on whom He have mercy. He will have compassion on whom He will have compassion. Do you fall in under that? No. You know what I'm saying? We don't know. We all fall in those categories of certain things. But when it comes to this right here, what I'm reading about, no. All right. So verse 13. This is Tobit 4:13 said, Now therefore, my son, love thy brethren, and despise not in thine heart thy brethren, the sons and daughters of thy people, and not taking a wife of them. For in pride is destruction and much trouble, and in lewdness is decay and great want. For lewdness is the mother of famine. Okay, so I'm just touching on that. Just let you know, hey, this is what Abraham. This is what he was this is what he wanted to get. Make sure his son married of the same bloodline. Okay. Alrighty, back to Genesis chapter 24, and I'll read verse 7 again. The Lord God of heaven, which took me from my father's house and from the land of my kindred, and which spake unto me, and that sware unto me, saying, Unto thy seed will I give this land. He shall send his angel before thee. I'm sorry, let me jump up real quick. I jumped a few verses. All right. Let me start at verse 4 again. It said, But thou shalt go unto my country and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son Isaac. Okay, that's what he told him. Verse 5, And the servant said unto him, Peradventure, the woman will not be willing to follow me unto this land. He's asking Abraham, say, hey, what if she don't want to follow me if I go up here? He said, Must I needs bring thy son again unto the land from whence thou camest? He said, do I need to bring Abraham to this place, so he can so he can see her, you know what I'm saying? And verse 6, and Abraham said unto him, Beware thou that thou bring not my son thither again. Don't bring my son up there. The Lord God of heaven, which took me from my father's house and from the land of my kindred, and which spake unto me, and that sware unto me, saying, Unto thy seed will I give this land. He shall send his angel before thee. He said, He's going to send the angel of the Lord will be with you, my servant, for my sake. Okay, you know what I'm saying, to do this thing. All this here is is prophecy. My son, he gonna need a wife, so he can reproduce. You know what I'm saying, to keep that seed going. All right, it says, He shall send his angel before thee, and thou shalt take a wife unto my son from thence. Verse 8, And if the woman will not be willing to follow thee, then thou shalt be clear from this my oath. Okay, you'll be clear. If she don't want to follow you, then you're good. Only bring not my son thither again. Don't bring my son up there. Okay. Verse 9, And the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham, his master, and swore to him concerning that matter. And that's what we did, when we swore and made swears amongst our people, this is what we did. You put your hand under that person's thigh, and that was, that's how we, we made a covenant, or a vow amongst each other. All right, so even our servants in them too, you know what I'm saying, that was there. That was a custom what we did. Verse 10, And the servants took 10 camels of the camels of his master and departed. For all the goods of his master were in his hand. And he arose and went to Mesopotamia unto the city of Nahor. Okay, not Nahor. Right, so now he's going to, let me go back here real quick. Just looking at the time. All right, so the journey, I'm just going to use this one right here, transition. So now he's going back up to Haran right there. So he's Haran, the Hurrians, or Padanaram. So he's going back there. That's what the city of Nahor was was in that landmass in that city of Haran. Okay, so that's where he's going. That's where the servant is leaving from. I would say it would be somewhere around that area, around where the beginning of the red is at, or that red arrow. But he's making his way north. Okay, I just want to use that map instead. All right. Okay. And verse 11, Genesis 24 and 11. And he made his camels to kneel down without the city by a well of water at the time of the evening. Right? It said even the time that women go out to draw water. So this is like when it's cooling down, so it's not so hot. So they don't go out there and get, this is where all the women will come out in the city to go get to draw water, right, for the house. It said, verse 12, and he said, O Lord God of my master, he said, Abraham, I pray thee, send me good speed this day and show kindness unto my master Abraham. So his servant, his servant is praying to the Most High for Abraham's sake. You see that right here in verse 12. He's also praying for himself, but it's for Abraham's sake. That's the only way that's how he had to pray. So verse 13, behold, I stand here by the well of water, and the daughters of the men of the city come out to draw water. And let it come to pass that the damsel to whom I shall say, let down the pitcher, I pray thee, that I may drink. And she shall say, drink, and I will give thy camels drink also. Let the same be she that thou hast appointed for thy servant Isaac. And thereby shall I know that thou hast showed kindness unto my master. So you see that right there? So he's praying for Abraham's sake, and so that way the journey, this thing here be well and be prosperous. He knows, he's seen how his master, how he prospered, and all the good things, that came about. He's seen the blessings, so he know, hey, that Abraham's God is the one true God. Okay, verse 15. And it came to pass before he had done speaking, that behold, Rebekah came out, who was born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, with her pitcher upon her shoulder. So as he got done sending up his prayer or his request, I'm gonna say it like that. Hey, here comes Rebekah. She comes out, right? Verse 16, and the damsel was very fair to look upon, right? So let you know she was pretty. This sister was beautiful. Right, so a virgin, neither had any man known her. Okay, and she went down to the well and filled her pitcher and came up. So now she's there at the well. She's getting some drink and stuff. And she out there. Bringing that. Doing what she do. That's what the women did. They went out there to get water. That was part of their duty. You read about that with her when we get into. You read of Moses when he met his wife and them. They was there getting water, drawing water, right? All right. So verse 17, and the servant ran to meet her and said, "Let me, I pray thee, drink a little water of thy pitcher." So he goes down there and asks for some water to drink, and she said, "Drink, my lord." And she hasted and let down her pitcher upon her hand and gave him drink. So it's showing you, he's seen like, damn, she's pretty, she's fine, and she got good mannerism. She's willing to give me something to drink, and when she had done giving him drink, she said, "I will draw water for thy camels also." You got to think about, that's 10 camels out there, So now she's going to give all of them something to drink too, the camels and them. So, and she hasted and emptied her pitcher unto the trough, and ran again unto the well to draw water, and drew for all his camels. Okay, so to let you know, so she had to get more water. To put in the trough for the camels to drink. And the man wondering at her held his peace. He's looking like, damn, that gotta be her. this is what I just asked for, and it's coming to pass, but he's holding his peace, but he's seeing this, what he asked for come to pass, it's being the prayer that he prayed for Abraham and Isaac's sake, the Most High making it prosperous, to wit whether the Lord had made his journey prosperous or not. And it came to pass, as the camels had done drinking, that the man took a golden earring, of a half a shekel weight, and 2 bracelets of her hands of 10 shekels weight of gold, and said, "Whose daughter art thou?" Yeah, he pulled that thing. He because he's saying this gotta be her. This is everything I just asked. So he's asking her, who's your people? Who's your mom and your dad? I pray thee, is there? Let me see. Let me read 23 again. And said, "Whose daughter art thou? Tell me, I pray thee, is there room in thy father's house for us to lodge in?" And she said unto him, "I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, which she bare unto Nahor." So she let her know who she was, and who her parents were. She said, "Moreover, unto him we have both straw and provender enough and room to lodge in." So let her know we got food, we got enough stuff to feed the camels, we got room for everybody. It's showing you that they got hospitality, man. It's showing you it's another example of hospitality here. Okay. And it says, verse 26, and the man bowed down his head and worshiped the Lord. So now he bowed down and worshiped, right? And he said, "Blessed be the Lord God of my master Abraham, who have not left destitute my master of his mercy and his truth. I being in the way, the Lord led me to the house of my master's brethren." So he went straight there to to the right place. You know what I'm saying? And he seen how the Most High answered the prayer and made things happen. Made his journey even less hard. Because he would have to go. Think about it. He would have to go and be asking people, trying to find look around. There's a lot of people probably in the city and town, and the Most High made a boom. You bump right into her right there on the first go. Like you going fishing and you cast in there and you catch you a nice sized fish. You know what I'm saying? You ain't had to wait all day. So this the Most High, you see this throughout the Bible. Whenever somebody's on a journey to go meet someone, the Most High make it that boom. You're going to meet that person right here at this particular time, on his time, okay? Usually it's like, boom, like it happens real fast. So, verse 27, Genesis 24 and verse 27. And he said, "Blessed be the Lord God of my master Abraham, who hath not left destitute my master of his mercy and his truth. I being in the way, the Lord led me to the house of my master's brethren. And the damsel ran and told them of her mother's house those things, these things." So now she, you got Rebecca. She went and she's telling her, her family and them, her peoples, what just happened. In verse 29, and Rebecca had a brother, and his name was Laban. And Laban ran out unto the man unto the well. So now the brother, he's coming out to go meet the servant, okay, the elder servant of Abraham. And it came to pass when he saw the earring and bracelets upon his sister's hands, and when he heard the words of Rebekah his sister, saying, "Thus spake the man unto me," that he came unto the man, and behold, he stood by the camels at the well, and he said, "Come in, thou blessed of the Lord." He said, "Come on in, you blessed of the Lord, come on in." He said, "Wherefore standest thou without?" Why you standing outside, man? Come on into the crib. That's pretty much what he's saying. He said, "For I have prepared the house and room for the camels." Okay. All right, verse 32. And the man came into the house, and he ungirded his camels, and gave straw and provender for the camels, and water to wash his feet, and the man's feet that were with him. Okay, so They're showing, this is the custom, what I'm saying? It's the hospitality that's being taking place here. Verse 33, and there was set meat before him to eat, but he said, I will not eat until I have told my errand. And he said, speak on. He said, so he just let him, I'm not going to eat nothing yet. Let me tell you why I'm here. Let me tell you what happened and everything, so he just bringing that out. All right. And verse 34, and he said, I am Abraham's servant, and the Lord hath blessed my master greatly, and he is become great, and he hath given him flocks and herds and silver and gold, and men servants and maid servants and camels and asses. And Sarah, my master's wife, bare a son to my master when she was old, and unto him had he given all that he had. Right, so he let me. He gave everything that he had. He given it to the possess. He given it to Isaac. Okay, let's see here real quick. Yeah. I was looking here to see something real quick. Matter of fact, we'll jump back. Go to chapter 21 and verse 2. I think it's 20. Let me see something. Yeah, 21 and verse 2. Let's go there real quick. I think that's it. Yeah. No, not 21 and 2. Yeah, 25 and 5. We'll go there. So this precept with that, right? The Genesis 25 and 5. So it says, and just to show you what, I'll jump back up. We'll go to 25 and 4. And the sons of me, so well, actually, I just do it like this. 25 and 5. And Abraham gave all that he had unto Isaac, right? So just let you know, because as you read, you start at verse 1 in chapter 25. It goes into the Keturah and her sons. That's Abraham's other wife, you know what I'm saying? And we jump down to verse 6. But unto the sons of the concubines is Keturah and Hagar, right? So which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts and sent them away from Isaac, his son, while he yet lived eastward unto the east countries, right? So, he sent them away, because they can't be heirs with Isaac, okay? Yeah, Isaac is that chosen seed. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the 12 sons of Jacob. All right, that's the blessings and the promises. All right, let me go back to where I left off at. I lost my place. All right. Verse 36. Genesis 24:30. And Sarah, my master's wife, bare a son to my master when she was old, and unto him hath he given all that he had. And my master made me swear, saying, that thou shalt not take a wife to my son of the daughters of the Canaanites, in whose land I dwell. But thou shalt go unto my father's house and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son. And I said unto my master, peradventure the woman will not follow me. So he's bringing out everything what we read early on in the early verses in the beginning of chapter 24. And she's letting them know the whole thing, what took place, what happened, the whole story. And he said unto me, the Lord, before whom I walk, will send his angel with thee and prosper thy way. And thou shalt take a wife for my son of my kindred and of my father's house. Then shalt thou be clear from this my oath when thou comest to my kindred. And if they give not thee one, thou shalt be cleared from my oath. And I came this day unto the well, and said, O Lord God of my master Abraham, if now thou do prosper my way which I go, behold, I stand by the well of water. And it shall come to pass that when the virgin cometh forth to draw water, and I say to her, give me, I pray thee, a little water, a pitcher to drink. And she say to me, both drink thou, and I will also draw for the camels. Let the same be the woman whom the Lord hath appointed out for my master's son. And before I had done speaking in mine heart, behold, Rebekah came forth with her pitcher on her shoulder, and she went down unto the well and drew water. And I said unto her, let me drink, I pray thee. So he's bringing out all this stuff like, hey, this is what I had prayed this, I said this, and hey, look, and all this stuff here, it happened just the way how I asked for it. He can't believe it, but it happened. He's excited, so he's telling them what the whole story, what took place. All right, verse 46, and she made haste and let down her pitcher from her shoulder and said, drink, and I will give thy camels drink also. So I drank, and she made the camels drink also. And I asked her and said, whose daughter art thou? And she said, the daughter of Bethuel and Nahor's son, whom Milcah bare unto him. And I put the earring upon her face and the bracelets upon her hands. And I bowed down my head and worshipped the Lord, and blessed the Lord God of my master, Abraham, which had led me in the right way to take my master's brother's daughter unto his son. And now, if you will deal kindly and truly with my master, tell me. And if not, tell me. So let me know if you, what I'm saying, if you're going to, we're going to do this thing, let me know, whether it be good or bad. He said, what is it? Tell me, he said, that I may turn to the right hand or to the left. Then Laban Bethuel answered and said, the thing proceeded from the Lord. We cannot speak unto thee bad or good. We can't say this is bad or good. He said, behold, Rebekah is before thee. Take her and go. He said, you can go ahead and take her and let her by thy master's son's wife, as the Lord has spoken. And it came to pass that when Abraham's servant heard their words, he worshipped the Lord, bowing himself to the earth. And the servant brought forth jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment, gave them to Rebekah. He gave also to her brother and to her mother precious things. He gave them gifts as well, okay? All right, it says, and they did eat and drink, and he and the men that were with him, and tarried all night. And they rose up in the morning, and he said, send me away unto my master. And her brother, he said, and her brother and her mother said, let the damsel abide with us a few days, at the least 10. After that, she shall go. They're like, let us, let her stay a little longer. You know what I'm saying? Because we ain't gonna see her. So that's what they both are saying. Verse 56, and he said unto them, hinder me not, seeing the Lord hath prospered my way. Send me away that I may go to my master. So he's letting them know. He's like, hey, look, hey, this is of the Lord. Let's not hinder what the Lord already set up. You know what I'm saying? Let's make this thing happen. I gotta be back. I got, and the Lord, what I'm saying, he already prospered this thing. Verse 57, they said, well, we will call the damsel and inquire at her mouth. Let's let her make the decision of what she want to do. Verse 58, and they called Rebekah and said unto her, wilt thou go with this man? And she said, I will go. She said, yes, I will go. Verse 59, and they sent away Rebekah, their sister, and her nurse, and Abraham's servant, and his men. So she had a nurse that was there. The nurse is going into, this is somebody that help bring up, when it goes to a woman, what I'm saying, they had a female that will help guide them and stuff, I don't know, I wouldn't say she could have been elder, I don't know, I don't think she might not have been old, but it was somebody that's older than her, because she was young, that can show her, how to be ladylike and stuff like that, that it goes into that, that type of thing. You can look it up. I forgot to, I saw it, I had to look it up earlier, but I should have screenshot it, but I didn't. But, let me see here, and, yeah. I just want to make sure I read this right. Okay. And verse 58 again, and they called Rebekah and said unto her, wilt thou go with this man? And he said, I will go. And they sent away Rebekah after Rebekah their sister, and her nurse, and Abraham's servant, and his men. And they blessed Rebekah and said unto her, Thou art our sister, be thou the mother of thousands of millions, and let thy seed possess the gate of those which hate them. Okay, it says verse 61, and Rebekah arose and her damsels, and they rode upon the camels. Right, so now there's other, she had other servants, female servants that left with her too. So you remember they had 10 camels, so you just kind of do the number. There were 10 camels that went out with them, so they could bring back the people, bring back more people and more substances, because when she leaves, she's gonna bring clothes and stuff, her bags, and people, servants coming with her, they got to bring their stuff with them too. All right. And Rebekah arose and her damsels, and they rode upon the camels and followed the man. And the servant took Rebekah and went his way. And Isaac came from the way of the well of Lahorah, for he dwelt in the south country. So remember that well was in that land, the same land where they at in Beersheba. Okay, so that's where the well was at. That's the same well where what's his name? Where Ishmael was about to where he what do you call it? He was about to dehydrate or die from heat exhaustion, and there was a well there that had water. That's the same place. Okay. And Isaac, verse 63, and Isaac went out to meditate in the field at the eventide. So to let you know, he was out in the field. He was meditating. You know what I mean? He was meditating. He was praying, studying. Reading the scrolls. At that time. Or going over the precepts that his father showed him and gave him. Things. The same stuff that we do today. So he was studying, praying, during that eventime. I mean, it was cool during this time, so it wasn't hot, so he out in the field doing that. And he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, the camels were coming, right? Verse 64, and Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she lighted off the camel, She lit it off the camel. So she's looking, she like, man, So she see him, so it's almost like love at first sight, pretty much, but what we hear today in the world. Verse 65, for she has said unto the servant, what man is this that walketh in the field to meet us? And she said, and the servant has said, it is my master. Therefore, she took a veil and covered herself. So, she covered herself up, she like, hey, I don't want him, I don't want him to see me, she got that shot, there's something what some women would do, nowadays I guess you'll see women would try to uncover their face to be seen and stuff like that. You'll see that women do that, but during, they show you women supposed to, they keep themselves kind of covered, because they're kind of nervous or shy, shamefaced. I would say it like that. All right. Verse 66. And the servant told Isaac all things that he had done. So he's telling him the whole story. What we done read. With the same thing he told with her parents. He told Rebekah's parents or his parents-in-law. Verse 67. And Isaac brought her into his mother's house, into his mother Sarah's tent, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife. And he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. So, I just want to jump to this point here. I'm going to show you. So you remember his mom died when he was, I think, about 37 years old. His mom died at the age of 127 years old. And, Abraham was 137. Remember, Abraham is 10 years older than Sarah, right? And he's 100 years older than his son Isaac, okay? So remember they were 37, so I'm going to show you something here. When we read in chapter 25 and let's see here, in verse 20, right? It says, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian of Padanaram, the sister to Laban the Syrian. Right, so it's letting you know that, okay, that's so it's 3 years later, you know what I'm saying? And it's 3 years after his mom died, and this is when he married her, okay? So I'm gonna read that again, when he took her to wife, verse 67. In Genesis 24 and 67, it says, and Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent and took Rebekah, and she became his wife. So that is when they're 40 years old. And he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. Okay, so so he was still kind of down and out. You know how it is. You have your mom or your dad or a loved one die. You'll be kind of sad. You kind of miss them and stuff. So so he's finally comforted. Now he's got somebody there to kind of comfort him. From that, from him missing his mother, so now he got a wife. All right, so all praises. I see 642. Hope you all gain some understanding thereof of the class. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm Officer Nahum. IUIC Raleigh. This history in the AM. The topic the title is Covenant Transitioning from Abraham to Isaac. Okay, so that's what that's going into, from Abraham to Isaac. I did have chapter 25 I wanted to go over, but I just saved it for the next time. But all praise. Hope y'all gain from the lesson. And with that, everybody would say, hey, shalom, Most High in Christ bless. Okay, shalom.